Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Troy Rawlings Show. I don't know if we can call it a show. We'll just call it a show. Troy Rawlings Show featuring Jake Stevens.
Hello.
I don't know how to say that yet.
I think you just did. Welcome to the Troy, Jake, Rawlings, Stevens Morning Show starring people.
Well, we want you to do this. We've been trying to, even with the Troy Rawlings Morning Show, we've been trying to get Jake on the show now, officially, for about the 2 years that we've had LA Radio now. So this is great because we get a chance to do this on a daily basis coming to you soon. But we want your input. What do you think we should name this? We want your input. We'll do a people poll. So on your YouTube comments, on your Facebook comments, on your Instagram comments, let us know what would be a good name for the show. You got Troy Rawlings, you got Jake Stevens. It's two guys talking. We're going to talk about sports. We're both fathers.
I got a great idea for the name of the show.
All right.
Will these two people please shut up?
It's just too long. So what is the WTP PS?
You're still trying to figure it.
WTPPSU sounds
These
like
people please shut
something
up.
that you go sent to the hospital for.
Because you had a problem in the bathroom?
No.
WTP PSU.
Or it's like a syndrome that happens when you get locked in the bathroom for a while. We had WTPPSU. And we had to, no.
I deal with way too much of that. Should we start this over?
No. We're in it, y'all.
Good morning, people.
It's hard to not say good morning, Vietnam.
Right, every time I
say good morning.
The late great. Very sad.
And we got some late greats we'll talk about today.
Oh, yeah?
On the show. But it's Troy. Got Jake in the building. And it's playoffs time. We're in the playoffs. NBA playoffs. This is is this the best time for sports? Would you consider this the best time of year for sports?
You know, it's always an interesting question when that comes up because it is awesome. So, for the best long playoff journey, I'll call it, love the NHL because it's just so tough for teams to go through. Right. And by the way, the Lions sleeps tonight on both the Kings and the Ducks are both already gone in SoCal. So thanks for coming, hockey fans in Southern California, and we'll see you in October.
Right. I was wondering what was up with this crazy. Now, hockey fans are diehard too, but they like to still go to games.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing
because they'll wear their other team jerseys and pack out another game.
Hockey is best seen in person. Like, football's a great TV sport. Right. Basketball's a pretty good TV sport. Baseball, well, for people who like it, it can be a good TV sport.
Right.
For people sitting in the stands and, taking an afternoon nap, that's fine too. But hockey is best seen in person. There's something about seeing the players on the ice. There's chill in the building. I mean, unless you get, like you have a 100-foot screen in your home and you can jack the temperature down to 55 with your air conditioning, you don't really feel what it's like to be in that arena.
And for those that don't know, Jake Stevens, what was you saying? Jake Stevens is a sportscaster. He was a sportscaster. He was a hockey sportscaster. So he knows hockey. He knows sports, but he really knows hockey. So, and me, I've been to one Skipjacks versus the Hershey's game.
The Baltimore Skipjacks and the Hershey Bears?
In my life.
Oh my.
Which was the greatest. If you've never been to a hockey game, for a kid to go, and I was into wrestling. We'll talk about that later because we got to hit on wrestling. But I was into wrestling. So when I first got invited to a hockey game, my friend's mom worked with the lottery. So she get ticket, the Maryland State Lottery, you get tickets for everything. So we went to a hockey game. I said, okay, we got right down near the glass. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And man, when they started fighting, the lights went off, sirens went off, fire on ice. I was like, what is going on? And it was this big guy on the Skipjacks that they brought on the ice. Specifically, I saw him come in. As soon as he got in, he looks at this guy and threw his gloves down. He looked like the guy, but remember the guy from Amityville Horror? I think that was I forgot who played in Amityville Horror, but he had the long hair and the beard. He looked like that.
Charles Brolin back then?
Charles Brolin. It was a Brolin boy. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Brolin. I think he was Amityville Horror. I'm almost positive. So he comes on ice and it's fire on ice and they start fighting and they let these guys go and they slam into it was the greatest thing ever. I'm surprised I haven't been to a hockey game.
We'll get you out there.
I gotta go.
We'll take you to a game down in Pickwick. You can actually watch the. They got the Bears team over there, a youth team, and both both my boys, Max and Ben, both played in the Little Kings, the LA Kings hockey program. That was their first taste of being on ice. And obviously into the show, we'll get more into the hockey playoffs and what's going on. But it is a great to come back to your question. It's a great time of year because hockey playoffs, NBA playoffs. You got the start of the baseball season, which is underway, and we'll take a poke at that briefly as well. I like the fall more because baseball's playoffs are in swing in October, and
you get to the good
NFL and college football are going on, and then I just lose my mind. So, but you also just had the Masters in golf, so spring is great too. But the fall for me is probably my favorite time of the year as far as sports because of the fact that football is back, and even with all the changes that they're trying to make or shouldn't make or whatever they do, and I do not want to get into that today because then we'll have to start that whole what makes me crazy segment, that'll also come along at some point. But anyway, can I go back to the NBA real quick?
We gotta go.
Because LeBron went off last night. So the Cavs lose game 1. And his coach, Tyronn Lue, says he needs to be more aggressive. LeBron comes out. LeBron came out like he was playing 1-on-5. They gave him the ball in the front court, and he took it, went to the hole, made a jump shot, made it 3, whatever. He scored 13 points before the Pacers got on the board.
Right.
He scored the Cavs' first 16 points. They were up big. They held on. I think he scored 46 or something like that. He had a monster game, and they held on. But it was kind of funny because, there's one thing to say be more active and be more aggressive, which his coach told him to do. And then another one to say, I'm going to take you all on by myself, and I'm going to beat you. He was doing it. 13-0.
The thing that's crazy about LeBron, and I'm a weird kind of guy. I like whole
that's
teams.
True.
And,
sorry.
I'm just, thanks for the cosign. I'm weird, but I like LeBron. But you know what it is to me? I've been seeing LeBron on ESPN and the front of ESPN magazine since he was in high school.
Yep.
So, and he was a
since he was in St. Mary's in 8th grade, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was a man amongst boys then.
Yep.
When he came into the NBA, it didn't look much different. He looked younger when he came in because coming out of high school, but even now, at any given time when he wants to turn it on, he can turn it on. LeBron's worst enemy is himself.
Yeah, that's it's kind of funny because that's always been the case where I remember the first big series when they went to the NBA Finals,
right.
or we're trying to get to the NBA Finals. It might have even been Game 1
right.
or Game 2, and at the end of the game, he drove to the hoop and then passed it to a teammate who missed the shot at the end, and everybody's like, "Why LeBron just you've been killing them, right? Just take that to the hoop, dunk on them, make them foul you, whatever."
Right.
So there's always been that kind of factor of, does he have that MJ? Does he have that
the
Kobe?
End all, kill it all.
Right.
Like MJ put it on his back and said, "Oh, we're not losing."
Right, and you all get in line, and this is what we're going to do.
Right.
And Kobe did some of the same. Those guys, MJ wouldn't care if, there's always talks about it.
They said his whole team didn't like him,
right.
But we won.
Didn't matter, because they knew that he was going to pull the best out of them. And I have my own views about Kobe. I don't know. I'm a little jaded, but I will say he was the same. They were just absolutely psychotically competitive. Absolutely. And I don't see that. Maybe it's there, but it just doesn't come out the same way with LeBron. I just don't see that if I don't win, like MJ and Kobe, if I don't win, like I'm going to kill somebody. Literally.
Right. Don't talk to me.
Right.
It's probably the thing, in my opinion, that seems to make LeBron more likable. It seems like LeBron has more friends than Kobe or Michael ever did.
Except when he starts flopping.
Well, yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Outside of sports.
He's a softer feel. He's a softer touch.
I don't know if Kobe had any friend. I didn't see him hanging with anybody. At least Michael had like Charles Barkley and Tiger Woods.
That's why Kobe immediately went into film and got the Oscar. Right?
His work ethic is important.
Right, and he had to go right back into something immediately, and I don't think there's anybody for him to hang out and play with.
Right. And you know what I do like?
He's not having play dates.
And we're going to get back to LeBron, but I want to say this about Kobe. Something I do like in seeing in his character afterwards. When Kobe finished, they were like, "Oh, you think about doing this?" And you come back, and he was like, "No, I'm really done with basketball."
Yep.
Like, he left it all on the court. That's powerful. and you leave at, what, Kobe's like 38, 39?
Sounds reasonable.
Right, so you leave and you left it all on the court and you're done. It's not like you're trying to come back, and he doesn't even want to coach.
No, he's
not
trying to
go
anywhere near that.
He doesn't want to deal with it, and then shows that he could go into something else and be highly successful. When he started the whole Muse and stuff for the kids and he was already doing production on commercials. He was already doing production on shows.
Yep.
He already concept ideas. He got into his investment capital firm and just successfully doing things. Of course, his last check. Just imagine picking up your last check for what, $28 million. Your last
That'll
check.
fund a few projects.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I got some other stuff working on, but I'm gonna go pick up my check today and deposit it.
Right, and that doesn't count the probably larger checks that he gets for his endorsement stuff, right? Just for anybody who cares, when we hit August 23rd, he will turn 40. So he's
40 years old. He
was last year, because he retired
Oscar.
last year, right? And then he got the Oscar, so he was, 38, I guess, when he retired, because he'd been 39 in August. That would have been right before the news season.
Was that last year? Seems like such a long time. Was
2
that
years
last
ago?
year's last game? It's
Yeah.
2018 now.
You know what? I'm not sure. I think it was.
Yeah, it might have been.
I don't know. Yeah, no, you're right. 2016. So he's 37 when he finished.
Yeah. So awesome career.
No. Anyway, doesn't matter. But he was 38.
Right, 38.
Because he finished at the end of that 2016 season. Then we had the 2017, which started and finished up in 2008. Whatever. Who cares? Minutia that doesn't need to be discussed here or have my brain. But we were talking before the show. You brought up something that
LeBron is great. Everybody says it's great. LeBron went off on the points. He said some stuff after the show. Everybody has this big conversation all the time about who's better,
Right.
LeBron or Kobe.
Right.
And it always comes down to the fact that
LeBron or MJ.
LeBron or MJ. And it always comes down to the fact that LeBron only has 3 rings right now, if I'm not mistaken, right? 3 or
Seems
three
possible.
rings, right?
Many more losses in finals than wins.
Many more losses than anyone else who has rings, actually.
How many did Wilt Chamberlain lose? He lost a bunch of finals.
Oh, yeah. Because
You know what?
Because
While you're talking, I'll see if I can find that right.
13 or 11 rings.
Yeah.
He has more rings than fingers. So, but Charles Barkley said something very intelligent the other day. Dun 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 dun. I don't know. Not that Charles. I like Charles Barkley, but he's like, people keep having this conversation about LeBron and MJ, and I just have to say, I'm surprised that in the midst of this conversation with LeBron and MJ, everybody keep jumping around Kobe.
That's terrible.
Was that terrible, Charles Barkley?
Terrible.
Okay.
No, that was not bad.
Good.
I figured out what you were doing after about 30 seconds.
He was like, is he still eating? Because I've been chewing and drinking coffee while Jake's been talking.
But yeah, Kobe's kind of left out. So what?
Kobe has 5 rings.
What did Chuck say about that?
He said Kobe has 5 rings. LeBron
Okay.
has 3.
All right.
He said, if we're having that kind of conversation, he said, I told you on my list. He said, now people always look at me, and people always look at me and say Charles can't be on that list because he doesn't have a ring. He said, okay, I get it. And don't get me wrong, Charles Barkley is one of the greatest players of all time, even though he didn't have a ring. It's weird that he didn't get a ring, but and going to so many teams. But the thing I can say about Kobe and MJ, the MJ Wizards thing was just weird to me. But the thing I can say about Kobe is that Kobe stayed with one team for 20 years. He was with the Lakers for 20 years. All his points, all his championships with one team, even when he lost, his work ethic amongst everything was impeccable. When he talks about, if you look at his production projects and he talks about the Muse thing and the zone and creating the Mamba, it's pretty deep. He actually, that's one of the things that I forget the project that he won an Oscar for, but it might have been that youth thing that he was doing with the youth, but he took. It was something great for kids.
Yeah.
Amazingly enough, you can say something great for kids. But it's something, if you have kids that play sports, you need to let them watch it. Because he talks about how you take anger and negativity and happiness and all this stuff, and if you're an athlete, you turn it into something. But not just that, and how you turn it on. How, if there's a dark place you can go, use that for a positive. It's an amazing production piece. And it got some credit. Actually, ESPN did a whole highlight on it and played it and stuff. But he's right. If you're gonna say something about the greatest, he said on my list. I told you before on my list, I got Kobe is number 6, LeBron is number 7, greatest players of all time. I don't know who his first. Well, coming out of Charles Barkley's time, I'm sure his first 5 or 6 probably would be like everybody from Bill Russell, MJ, Wilt Chamberlain,
Magic
Bird. So yeah.
That's
and that's
interesting.
something else you guys can comment. What are your thoughts on that? Who, when it comes to better basketball players?
By the way, according to this quick lookup, LeBron 6 finals appearances, 2 wins. Wilt Chamberlain 6 final appearances, 2 wins.
Oh.
Now I thought LeBron had a third because I thought he won 2 with Miami, and
he does have a third.
Right. So this
He has
thing,
2 with Miami, 1 with Cleveland. So that's just a little dated. It's probably dated.
yeah, okay, because he's
Yeah,
now been to the
since
finals 2 more
2014.
years. So I think he's been to 8 finals and won 3. Does that sound right?
Right, he won 1 against
Because he went
Golden
twice.
State.
He's going right. He lost 1 against Golden State, and
He
won
went the
1
first
against
year,
Golden State.
didn't?
When he went back to
first year
Cleveland.
they went.
When he came back,
But they went. Didn't they go like to the? Or they went to the playoffs the first year they went in. That he was there. They went they went to something pretty early. They got spanked in the finals the first time they went. I forgot who they played.
I thought that was against Golden State. No.
No, the first time that Cleveland, when he was first with Cleveland, played in the finals. I forgot who they played. See, this is trivia. You guys can have one point with us. We're not ESPN.
Well, anyway, he's not the only one who's lost a bunch of finals.
Right.
Well, after it says with the 2017 NBA Finals in the review mirror, LeBron falling to 3-8 in his finals history. So there's your answer.
Yeah.
3-8.
3-8.
3-5. Sorry. Anyway, there's flaws in his, or I'll say there's different ways to look at it. I guess I shouldn't call them flaws. Being homicidally competitive maybe not being that isn't necessarily a flaw. But yeah, I happen to agree. And again, I'm not a Kobe fan, but I think when you discuss that, I think a guy who has done that and frankly forced to break up with Shaq went packing. Kobe then got another team to the finals. They got whooped, then they came back and won. There's got to be something said for that as well. Now, it's funny because it's easier for me to compare and say, oh, MJ over Kobe, than it is for me to say MJ over LeBron because of the fact that MJ and Kobe played a similar position, right? Whereas LeBron
is a
who knows?
Forward,
I don't even know what position he plays because he kind of plays everything. And for a while, he was frankly their point guard, bringing the ball up. So it's definitely a bit different. But what he did last night was just
it makes it look like it's a man playing against boys,
which makes me wonder: what if he just decided one night it was just going to be all about him?
And see, we've seen that, and I think the issue at hand is the fact that us being in our 40s, we've seen that happen with ball players. We've seen Michael Jordan from the beginning of the game. I forgot how good the 1994 or early the Bulls were when they had Rodman, Jordan, and I went back. The Bulls that the Golden State Warriors broke their streak, even though they lost the championship that year. They broke the Bulls streak. That Bulls team. I went back and watched the game. Remember how the UNLV running Rebels used to look when they played against people?
Looked like nobody else belonged.
It was like, they down the court. Rodman gets the rebound, and Jordan and one other player are already down the court.
Right, nobody
and Rodman
didn't have to worry. Rodman was going to grab the rebound
and
hurls
it down the court,
halfway down, and they were getting a bucket.
They were scoring so fast and it never looked like they got tired.
Nope.
And then Rodman would add insult to injury after a game, take his shirt off, and go jump on the bike. And I was like, these guys were just in phenomenal conditioning.
So you're saying they were good?
They were phenomenal. They were great. But here's the thing: during the time, you want to see competition.
Yeah.
During the Bulls era, there wasn't a lot of competition.
No, but they ended up having some really interesting and competitive finals. The final against Barkley, when he was with Phoenix, ended in 5 games, but it was crazy. It was a crazy finals. The finals against Utah should have gone Game 7, but Karl Malone didn't, realize that MJ was going to steal the ball from behind, and then he's going to shove Brian Russell out of the way and make the game-winning jumper. And then they had the series against Kemp and Payton and the Sonics, which also was much more competitive than probably the final scoreboard showed. So there was a whole lot of stuff that went on during that I think people forget what went on. We got some visitors in the studio, so we'll wave hi as they go on by. The Bulls didn't win all their championships 4-0 and sweep sweep teams away and make it real easy. It didn't happen that way, but that's what we think of when we think of, oh, well, he didn't face any competition. Nobody was any good. He didn't have the Golden State Warriors to play. He didn't have the whatever. I mean, first of all, one thing that was a big difference back then, too, was that basketball was played very differently. The Pistons and the Knicks tried to beat the absolute crap out of the Bulls when they played them, and figured if they could play physical enough, that they might be able to beat them, and they almost did.
I don't think we realized how physical the game really was. I mean, we saw the physicality, but until Allen Iverson came in and we used to see him get swatted around the court, then you start realizing that, okay, and then you meet Allen Iverson in person and realize, oh, this guy's like a regular size, 6 foot tall. He's not small.
Right.
But he's small.
Right, but in the NBA, yeah. Well, what they call a flagrant foul now used to be like a routine foul. It was like a touch foul. Maybe it shouldn't be called. Now it's a flagrant.
Yeah, with Mason and Oakley and stuff like that. By the time they threw guys were losing teeth.
Mahorn and Lane Beer with his cheap shots. Heck, back in that era, Karl Malone, his elbow on Isaiah coming down the lane. Those guys, there was no love lost.
Yeah.
And those guys played
nosebleed.
By the way, which was also one of the things that was very different. I know people went crazy over LeBron's The Decision. And I didn't mind as much that he went to play with other guys that he was buddy with, because, you know what? You want to play with your buddies? Go play with your buddies. You're rich enough, whatever. What hurt was the fact that it felt like they were trying to gang up so they could be better. And in the old day, you never did that. You just played and worked and tried to beat that team. Kevin Durant going to the Golden State Warriors, right? Lovely for Kevin Durant, and he's got a championship. And I can't say he shouldn't have done that. 25 years ago, if Kevin Durant tried to do that, they would have killed him. Like, seriously? Every time he played, they would have body checked him into the bench, because they'd have been like, why are you going to play on another team? Why are you so soft? Why can't you do it?
The whole team would have came out against him. So speaking on the Durant piece situation, how do you feel? I thought Stephen A. Smith, and we're in the basketball thing now pretty heavy, because it's... By the way,
if you're going to do a conversation and you're going to do Stephen A. Smith, you got to start screaming. I'm going to hold my ears. You know,
all right, first off, I talked. I'm just letting you know, I'm good friends with everybody I'm about to talk about. Okay? First off, I'm good friends with him. And let's be clear, I'm good friends. With that said, look, I have nothing but the utmost respect for everybody I'm about to talk about. But with that said,
he is the ultimate name dropper. Yeah. I've never seen anybody.
I talked to President Clinton last night. I'm just letting you know. And with that said,
and I have the utmost respect for him. But what he said was wrong.
But what he said was wrong. I'm saying right now, I'm he's wrong. So, and this is jacked up because I guess it's the time and society we're in. And in my opinion, and yeah, I'm a black young guy from Baltimore.
You're black?
Sometimes.
I didn't know.
Burbank does that too.
Does Mom know? No. Sorry, that was from a movie. That was Richard Pryor. That was Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder.
Oh my God! I'm black.
I'm black.
Does Mom know? Yeah.
I'm black.
I'm black.
Does Mom know?
And then he felt below his pants. Oh my God! Rest in peace, Richard Pryor. We're gonna do a memorandum later.
And Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
Okay, so
but maybe because, and I said that because after the years of thinking that certain athletes and certain organizations seem like they haven't gotten all, even though athletes are amazingly rich, when being involved with sports, and I'm certain sports, when I think of like hockey and stuff like that, and think about just their dental plan, just their concussion. When you see hockey, and the reason I have such a respect for hockey and soccer, but hockey specifically, because these guys are flying down the ice 45, 30 miles per hour. Pucks are flying. And when you talked about when I started realizing that frozen puck and the power of it, that it can, if it can go through the shield on your mask, if it can go through that plexiglass, if it can go through the gate,
potentially it could shatter it, sure.
Yeah. So
terrible. Oof.
With all that said, when the deal happened with Kevin Durant, I guess because I really wasn't a big Oklahoma. I liked what Oklahoma City was doing, but it seemed weird to me already. If you had if every player that leaves Oklahoma becomes a better player when they leave, and you had the best players there at one time, you had
James Harden, who you basically decided not to pay. That's all they did. Right.
You have Russell Westbrook, who you don't have any kind of leash on. You have Kevin Durant, and what's the African name dude that went to? I don't even know where he is now. What's the?
My memory bank is empty
but
now.
They had. Long story short, Oklahoma City had such a mammoth team.
Yes.
Out of the box that was like, these guys are going to be phenomenal. Kevin Durant decides to go with the team that they met in the semifinal. That wasn't the finals. That it was the semifinals, right? That wasn't the final.
When Oklahoma City lost to Golden State,
right?
When they were up 3-1,
right?
Yeah, that was the Western Conference Finals.
Western Conference, right? And
I think
that was Western Conference.
I don't know, whatever it was.
So when Stephen A. was like, "It's the most deplorable thing I've ever seen before in my life. It's no sucker move, whatever punk jump up to get beat, whatever scenario he could throw at it, he was throwing at it." I didn't think it was that bad a thing. Maybe because the time we're in, we look at the athletes and say, hey, get what you can get, do what you can do.
Right.
And we just saw LeBron hopscotch wherever he wanted to go to pretty much get a ring. LeBron doing it to me was crazy. I mean, the fact that the limbo and then going to Miami
and how he did it, frankly.
And how he did it.
Right. See, that was the distasteful.
He did it
really
like
distasteful
you know
part.
what he did like. He did it like that was his college experience. He did it like a college draft, his own personal draft, and then went back to Cleveland, which he said, "I'm coming home," and I guess that's I don't know. Seeing that kind of thing was different for me because we came up in a time when somebody was with a team, unless they were traded,
right,
they stayed with that team,
right. Very different. Very different.
So we're at a time now where sports athletes can decide where they want to go for the money and say, I want to win a ring, so I'm gonna go over here and help these guys. But they said they came and they recruited him. So I don't see anything wrong. We'll give you this money, we'll give you this, and we'll work. You're gonna be when Steph comes to you and says, you're the man on this team.
Right. When the alpha dog says, you can come be the alpha dog and we'll figure it out. Yep.
And the coach.
And they clearly did.
And they did. But you're with a team where you and Russell are scratching heads and like, man, okay, we're going to go out here and we're going to win together. Yes. And it's just, two of y'all can't win against five people.
No. Were you thinking of Serge Ibaka?
Serge Ibaka.
That name just hit. I
couldn't.
Came in there. Well, let me say this, by the way. The other thing is that LA fans are going crazy with all the talk about LeBron after this year coming to the Lakers.
And he's probably going to go.
Who knows?
He has his house here.
But people go right,
here.
And nobody will blame him this time because they'll look at that Cleveland team and said, "Yeah, if he just wants to get rings, he probably should. And if he just wants to live in a nice, comfortable setting with warm weather, especially considering the past year's worth of weather, he'll come live out here. It'll be nice and warm."
He's used to it now. Yep. He has a major production company here. He's been producing. Producing some good.
Plus, he'll probably get a chance to get a guest spot on our show. That's probably going to be a big part of the.
I heard him. With all due respect, I heard that LeBron was. I got off the phone with my people, and this is what I heard. I heard LeBron was gonna come and do this show. With all due respect,
but you know what's really funny when he does that though. With that being said, I cannot do that, but. What's funny is that whenever he does that, people go off, did you hear what Stephen A. Smith... No, it wasn't what Stephen A. Smith said. It's what he said other people told him. People always get lost in that. Well, he said... No. He said what other people told him. You may not like what it was, and he may have a take that's the same as that or may go against it.
He's a good reporter, and Stephen A. Smith, I'm sure, knows enough that when he's on the phone with somebody, even in a casual conversation with a good friend, he says, can I quote you on that? And once all he has to say, sure, man, whatever. So when he quote people, he can put it together.
Yep.
And Steven has been dead on with certain things he said. People going around saying it's Floyd Mayweather coming back. I can tell you for a fact, because I went to the horse's mouth. Happens to be a good friend of mine. And with that being said,
all due respect.
With all due respect, with that being said, and I'll quote. I'm not coming back. You know,
he's an entertaining individual.
He is very, and you know, he's getting paid well, and you know,
yes,
it's funny because it's like, and for those that are just listening in on the podcast, I'm Troy Rawlings with Jake Stevens. So this is the Troy Rawlings Show featuring Jake Stevens, or whatever we come up with a name for. But we're talking sports, and
I hope if people click on this to tune into us, that they know who we are when we do the show.
Right.
I hope so.
You'd be surprised.
I'm not saying they have to.
I come from a radio. We both come from a radio background, so we come from a radio background where people would tune in the midst of a show, and that's what if you tuned in the middle of the show, you're in the middle of the show. There's no
right.
Going
You turn
back,
on
you
turn on a radio station. You may not know who they are because you just. Especially when I'd go to a new city. I'd go to a new city and immediately put the if I'm in the car, put the radio on AM scan and see if it would pick up a sports station. Then I'd have to figure out who was actually doing the show. Right.
Right. And if they're saying a lot of accolades about a person, it's like, who is this celebrity? If you didn't notice their voice, you wouldn't. You know, everybody doesn't talk like Dick Vitale.
Maybe that's the name of this. In case you didn't know.
In case you didn't know. If you didn't know. No, we should, with all due respect.
I don't know if we can use. He'd probably sue us for that.
Who are these guys using my?
Oh yeah. Even though you used to work in a barbershop,
I'm Stephen A.
We can't call it barbershop. We can't call it shop talk because LeBron is busy suing Alabama for that, and then somebody else came up and said, "Wait, they did so something many people." Before. I know it's hilarious.
The law of first use is
Why is he even bothered by that? By the way, why is he bothered by Nick Saban in Alabama? Does he think they're gonna just ruin the name by being just terrible?
Well, I think this goes back to the thing with
he doesn't have enough money.
What the misconception is about LeBron. When we said the killer instinct, with Kobe and Michael, we know one thing. Even though Kobe had other interests outside of basketball, which he dabbled in and he had a great team working on, and Michael, of course, did too. Gambling. And golf, and first thing you think, gambling
and
golf
and gambling
and whatever.
Gambling,
and whatever. Yeah.
Also golf and gambling.
And gambling.
I think that covers it.
But we knew that their heart and soul died on that court.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that's not the fact for LeBron, but
it doesn't seem that way. I agree.
It seems like it seems like we never saw we saw Kobe lose. But in his eyes, he always said, "Don't worry, we'll be back next year." Even when he had a terrible team. Look, he had the worst LA team when he retired. But that last game, you know what he decided? We're not losing tonight, and I'm going to leave it all on the court. 61 points later, he gave a packed house. The people who hated you. Shaq's on the side, like, I can't believe this guy's doing this.
I tuned in, not being interested in all, and I couldn't turn it off.
You couldn't turn it off?
I couldn't turn it off.
He was Showtime. Magic over there. That's what Showtime. That's what we do. Showtime.
Speaking of which, so we've seen, by the way, the discussion, the facial expressions of disgust and anger and this and that. I have never seen Magic do anything but smile, ever.
Me neither.
Do his facial muscles droop down?
It's a huge
I've never seen somebody always look so happy.
He's always, but think back to his college days. He
was winning then too. He was smiling back then.
He won his rookie year when he came into the NBA. He was always. That's a part of his. I think that's a part of his whole attitude and personality. I think that's why he's still in this planet. You know,
probably.
Yeah, it's no other way around it.
Okay. All right.
Okay, guys. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing us talk about
Never.
sports. Guys are not tired of hearing us talk about sports. Well, actually, now we're in a day and age where women seem to love sports as much as men.
Yes. They just don't like to argue as much. I think that's the thing. In general.
In general.
Look. No. But in general, I think they're not looking to engage in that free-for-all. Like, I've never seen my wife looking at Us Weekly and somebody else looking at Us Weekly. And by the way, my wife loves sports. Or not as passionate as I, but she enjoys sports. She's been a huge Cal Ripken fan since she saw him play in the World Series, blah, 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 right? My sister's sports fans. My mom always a big sports fan. Like, I'm used to it. So it's not a surprise to me. But what I do find interesting is they're not interested in engaging in that comparative discussion like we would just throw down if you said Kobe and I said MJ, right?
We are fan, like the word fan comes from fanatic.
Right. In general, they don't seem to be that crazed when it comes to that.
Right.
And I've never seen it, and I think it's something biological because I've never seen my wife throw it. That's why I brought it. I never saw her throw down when somebody else says, well, although she might if somebody said something about Giselle Bundchen because my wife just every time her name comes up, she's like Horseface. She hates her. She hates
wow.
her. I probably shouldn't have said that, but oh wait. You know what? She'll yell at me later. That by the way, see,
with all due respect. With that being said, his wife does not like. I heard it from her mouth.
She looked at Giselle's horse's mouth
and she said,
I don't like her.
I don't like her.
But right, I've never seen women screaming about celebrities, right? Like guys will scream about sports. And in general, I don't see women scream about sports the same way either. I just don't think it's a regular, natural, let me yell about it thing. Which also, by the way, here, we'll get a little bit, and by the way, this podcast and this stuff that we do will eventually become a little more of the, as we take more time, and it'll be a little more social, it'll be a little less sports, it'll be bigger issues and a broader range, right?
But since today is what, the 19th of April?
Yes.
We're kind of specific to today because we want to get you guys some.
But I want to bring up this one thing about that, is that I don't think in general that's not what drives it in general for women, even who are passionate sports fans, is that argument. There are some, but that fierce argument doesn't seem to happen nearly as often, which is why, and you know why, and you know what a lot of times gets done, and here I'm going to get myself in terrible trouble, but that's okay.
This is where we go.
I've already prefaced it. I've already said my explanation, or given my mea culpa.
May you what?
My mea culpa. My bad. It's my fault.
I don't know everything.
It's okay. So here's my long-awaited take on this that I know is everybody's anxious about. The issue with it is that men will argue and yell and get it out and then be done with it. And in general, and I've seen it with my wife, I've seen it with my sisters, I've seen it, and I saw it a lot in college. Women have roommates and they end up hating each other because they never have that quick knockdown, drag out fight and then get done with it, right? It just doesn't happen. But something will come up, they'll be upset about it, and they don't scream at the other person, they don't have a fight, they don't have an argument, and then just say, okay, we're cool now? Yeah, we're cool. They don't do it. Men, we do it in general. We get it out.
We get it done.
Right. We yell, we scream, whatever, and then like half an hour later, like, all right, you want to go shoot some hoops?
Yeah, we're not carrying something on. Whereas
right.
sometimes when ladies, you do this. Sometimes women can carry a grudge.
You think?
with they. Oh, I don't talk to her anymore.
Right.
Like, what happened? Like, you know what? It's just not even important right now.
Right. I'm not going. But I find that
she can't remember what happened.
I find it so interesting though, and then it becomes like, okay, we're friends with this side. We're friends with this side. I see all these things. I'm like, why don't you just yell at each other?
Well, we talk about this sometimes. It's you know, I do the love and relationship stuff, and I love helping men and women communicate better in love because it's funny how we communicate and we go through our stuff.
You should teach a workshop in Stephen A. Smith's voice, by the way.
Right. With all due respect, women. Wait a second. What are you trying to say? Just give me a second. Let me get done what I'm saying. The fact that men are so passionate about sports, I think, becomes one of the issues. The stereotypical issue is like, why is she trying to talk to him during the game? Because she's never seen him be that passionate, jumping, screaming, him and his man, see somebody score, they hugging each other, high five. The wife is like, hey, he doesn't get that excited about anything else. Let me go over and get in this TV space. What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm just seeing if you notice me like you're noticing the game, because I don't remember the last time I got that kind of pomp and circumstance.
It's a different outlet. It's a totally different outlet.
And we don't have many outlets like that. We're now men. We do have to learn how to have better outlets for our emotions within the relationship, outside of sports, outside of anything that we're outside of work in sports.
What are you trying to say, Troy?
We got to be more. We got to be more expressive on every level.
Which is why, by the way,
in a good way.
Which is why sometimes when things go haywire with whatever's going on, I will walk outside my house and I will scream at the top of my lungs and I'll curse and I'll just get it out, because it's not something specific. It's just that I just need to. Right, I just got to get rid of that excess energy.
No, it sounds funny, but that's true. We do have to do. Maybe, you know, guys have the highest rate of suicide and violent crimes and all this other stuff because we do tend to hold things in that can be explosive. But sports, and that's why women in certain relationships, it was like, okay, I wish it, or especially older women like our grandmother and stuff. Where's grandpa? Oh, he's out doing whatever he's doing right now. I ain't got time for that. He's getting it out. Whatever he gotta get out, he gotta get it out.
But whatever side of the relationship it is, it's always they gotta handle theirs.
They gotta handle theirs.
Let them go do it, and I'll be back here and whatever. When you're done with that, you can come on back and act like civilized adults again.
Real over. Don't bring any disease, children's, or anything crazy in this house when you come back. Just don't bring no junk with you. Go out and do what you don't bring nothing. Don't bring nothing back.
With all due respect.
With all due respect.
Do not come back in this house with any of that. But speaking of old times, I want to touch, and we talked real quick on a couple things. So, very sad last night, and they actually interviewed Lebron. We'll come a little full circular. They interviewed Lebron right after the game. They had found out during the game that Greg Popovich, the coach of the Spurs, that his wife, Erin, passed away. She'd been battling illness for a long time. Yeah, 67 years old. LeBron was definitely, you could see he was emotional about it. A lot of people in the NBA talking about stuff, so that was sad. Obviously, I know people get all upset. Oh, you say his thoughts and prayers, but that's all I have right now. Thoughts and prayers for them. And then we've seen in the last couple days, Arlie Ermy, the private pile. What's your major malfunction? You know,
which is actually a segment that Jake will be introducing, which we were just talking about that. We were just talking about him.
Yes, What's Your Major Malfunction will be
Full Metal Jacket, right?
Yes. Yeah. So he passed away. Lots of people loved him. Very, very entertaining character actor. And also an actual Marine and a man who did it. And then you brought up one more from the
Bruno
the golden oldies of see, that was the sport that we went crazy over when we were younger, was wrestling.
And like we like to call it wrestling, not Roman Greco wrestling, not the wrestling. You know, the stuff that would come on Saturday mornings, and the kids we get our big bowl of Captain Crunch, or if you had brothers and sisters, you're trying to do the moves of half killing each other, jumping off stuff, go outside right after it's over and try to power drive somebody. If you haven't tried to power drive or suplex someone in the front yard or in the grass, you haven't lived in wrestling.
I agree.
But oh my God, I remember, and Bruno Sammartino was a little bit before my time. That was what, 60s, 70s?
Probably.
And but I remember Bruno Sammartino in the days of. Because when I first started looking at wrestling, we had mainly the WWF and the subsidiaries.
Yep.
So it was Iron Sheik, Hulk Hogan,
Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream.
Dusty Rhodes, the American. That was WCW turning into NWA or something like that, or both.
I don't know. They were all together and they were separated.
I love the NWA, the Magnum TA,
Ric Flair,
Woo! The Four Horsemen, the Road Warriors. There was nothing like seeing. I went to see a wrestling match, and this one was kind of mixed, where it's Sergeant Slaughter,
whipping on Bob Backlund.
Oh my goodness! And was so excited. The Baltimore Civic Center. My mom took me, and I remember seeing them come down because where we were sitting, it was right where they were coming down. Aisle, so I shoot down and run down, and my mom was like, "Boy!" She couldn't get out and grab me quick enough, and I just looked back and saw her face with everybody yelling like, I was like, oh, let me go back up here. She told her friend later on, I got so scared because he just ran down to, these guys are huge, girl. He just ran down. And but to see the Road Warriors come into the ring, they were going against the Fabulous Freebirds. And the Road Warriors music started playing, was that Black Sabbath, that
playing Little Iron Man.
The lights. The lights were, I mean, it was like a concert. The lights went down, and then the Road Warriors wouldn't walk that. They like stop at a certain place, and they come into the ring with like, I guess it was like indicative of like rock bands, but these huge spikes on their leather football shoulder pads, Animal and Hawk. They run into the ring. And one of the Freebirds was smart enough to get out the ring. I think it was Michael Hayes. Michael Hayes was the one that was in the ring.
Right.
That was like trying to show off or whatever. And they slid into the ring, which I think these guys had to be on. I don't know what they were doing in the
clean.
back.
Whole thing was clean.
Right. Had to be on.
Don't ruin my memories.
Oh, I'm sorry. They slide into the ring, and I don't know if it was Animal. I think Animal chased the one guy, and Hawk picks up Michael Hayes in the air above his head. And we know wrestling is pretty much scripted, but when you get under adrenaline and stuff like that, these guys get hurt. You got to know how to fall. You got to know how to. It's a sport, yes. Right? It's a sport. It's an acting and sport. It's So he lifts Michael Hayes up over his head. The crowd is going nuts. The energy is crazy. You can hardly hear, and he just throws him over the top rope and out the ring. And we're so pumped up that we're not thinking, where did this mofo land? Because it took another 5 minutes for them to actually get the match started. He just threw him. He's like, threw him out the ring and everything. But the way his body flew, it was like he landed probably on his stomach because there was no way. Now, where did he throw him? Man, that was wrestling. You see, when they had razor blades to cut their heads, if somebody's not bleeding quick enough, they cut. Ric Flair and all those guys still have. Yeah. Well, WWF was more so, I think, the blood package. But when you look at Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Dusty Rhodes, you see all that scar tissue from those razor cuts on their head because he thought it was good if they had blood coming. Whew. That was every weekend.
Those were the days.
So rest in peace to
Bruno
Sammartino, Greg Popovich's wife,
Arlie Ermy.
All
right, I don't want to end another sad note. So here's the happy note. If you love this, I know I shouldn't bang on that. Every time I bang on the table, I mess up the sound. Our sound machine.
We have too many good vittles in here.
If you I'll close them up.
Yes,
I'll close them.
You hear me snacking is because we have coffee and chocolate.
Here's the good news and the positive. We're going to try to do this. The goal is to get out there and do this every day. Sometimes it'll be a straight podcast that you'll get to. Sometimes we might go live. That's hopefully the plan at some point. We're going to do it. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. We definitely want to hear from people. Even if it's got nothing to do with anything we talked about, but you think it's something we should talk about, post a comment on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, or text us. I'll give out Troy's phone number in the next show.
If you Google me, you can find it anywhere. That's the problem. But and another thing is we'll be more topical about certain things, but it's guy talk. It's a part of the Troy Rawlings morning show as well. You'll hear it on LA Radio Now. But we want to get it directly to you guys on YouTube, on our podcast pieces. And sometimes me and Jake just want to, we sit down and talk about a lot of things, but I could have got that piece of chocolate. Okay. We sit down and talk about a lot of things, but sometimes we just want to vent on certain particular things that happen. And sometimes you need to hear a guy. These are two guys' perspectives. We're both dads. Jake's a married dad, and I'm a dad, whatever that means. We love sports,
which also that's going to be another cool segment. So Troy's daughter Zoe is she's quite a bit of unintentional comedy. So we're going to have a segment called "What Did Zoe Say Today," which I'm looking forward to.
You can also go on my LA Radio Now YouTube channel and look up her first podcast. It was called Top Topics. So we got to bring them.
Awesome.
We got to let her, Max, and Ben talk, but.
So we're a little all over the place today. We're a little all over the map.
Actually, we stayed in the parameters of sports for a while.
Mostly, but we'll get to everything. Mostly. I wanted to use that line, but I don't know how. Are we allowed to use profanity? What are the rules? I'm serious when I ask this because
it's up to us on the podcast. We try not to, but some days we're gonna go off. We both have language issues.
Well, because it's the line from Bull Durham where Susan Sarandon asks Millie. I don't know what her actual name is. The woman, the actress. I just know her as Millie, and for the life of me, I should probably look it up at some point, but I don't know. And she asks Millie how Tim Robbins knew how he was because she knew she was going to sleep with him. And she says, he sort of fucks like he pitches. He's all over the place. We were Nuke LaLoosh today on this show. We were all over the place. But that'll be part of the fun, too. You know what? Maybe if anybody...
With all due respect.
We're going to have a contest every day to see if somebody can actually give us why we segued from one thing to the other. If they can explain 5 proper segues, now, we have to give them some sort of reward.
In a writing course, a friend of mine told me he took a writing course before he came out with his first book. And one of the things they tell you to do is to go into like a barbershop or salon and record the conversation. And if you ever go into a barbershop, that's how conversations, it sounds, it's like Spider-Man was webbing together some conversations. They go, man, what about this boy LeBron, man? Boy, did you see his wife the other night? Man, I was talking to this girl the other day, man. You know, they hit my car. And the average barbershop talk, don't sue us for that because we're not quoting that like a title. But the average barbershop talk and around the way talk, you know, you scale from conversation to conversation. But I think we need those times because it's not so, Lord knows, if you read your news clicker today, you know, you see Trump, you're like, so what's going on with Trump and Mueller? You know, it's just like you look on the newspaper and you see the same.
We're not going there.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you'll see the same things over and over. So sometimes it's good to just have talk that's just, let's get it out. I'd rather zap out over sports.
Her real name is Jenny Robertson, and I think I can actually, let's see if I can get the clip to play.
Play the clip. With all due respect, this is a clip that we don't own this clip that we're about to play. But I talked to Susan Sarandon.
Whoops. That's
kind of all over the place.
Kind of all over the place.
Oh my goodness! All right,
is that going to be the end of this one?
Yeah, we out of here, man. This has been we've given them about 45, 50 good minutes. We got things to do.
You're using that word "good" very, very politely.
Yeah. I mean, that's how guys think, ladies.
I liked it though. This was fun, and we hope you had fun too. So remember. Your homework, should you choose to accept it. 1, name our show.
Name our show. Yeah, give us a name for the show.
Name the name. Number 2, I have no idea what we said was number 2. And number 3, I actually, you know what I should have said? I said A. I should have used my A, 2, and D from Home Alone. A, name our show. 2, I can't remember what it was. And D, we hope you come back to this again. I'm Jake.
I'm Troy Rawlings, and we will holla, talk, and be in your computers very soon.
With all due
respect. I hope he doesn't get upset about that. With all due respect.
Hey, if he does get upset about that,
thank God. I hope he reaches out. There's some guys doing this show in Burbank, California.
I know, because I
know, because I called him this morning. Love y'all. Peace.